This program is sponsored by Numbers USA.
Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Kathleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Kathleen Wells.
Oh, Happy New Year, Truth Warriors and Mythbusters. It's a fantastic thing. This year is going to be so chock full of information. It's going to be a bumpy ride, as they say. What movie is that Betty Davis says, hold on to your seatbelts or buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride? Well, 2024 is going to be a bumpy ride because why? Because we see what's happening. Everything is going to come to fruition. It's going to be a bumpy ride because it's the election year. We're in the meat of the election. So, yeah, that's what I want to say. What else should I talk about? Let me see. I want to bring up a few things. I said Happy New Year. Oh, I want to mention that, let's see. Emily Miller has a Substack. She's an award-winning investigative reporter in Washington, D.C., and her headline today, I follow her on Substack. Her headline today is Hollywood media covering up that Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger. I recommend that you follow her. She's fantastic. So we know that Hollywood is covering up a lot of things. We found out from the Epstein files, or the client list was dropped. And also, I was listening to, what's his name? The comedian, Cat Williams was on with Shannon Sharp, the football player. He has a podcast called the Shay Shay Room, I think it is. And Cat Williams actually disclosed all the dirt on Hollywood. Him and the Epstein list. You know who was on the Epstein list? Clinton. I think it was he likes young girls, and also Hillary Clinton was also mentioned on that list. What else do I want to mention? The fact that, I want to mention that my YouTube channel is back up. Can you believe it? It was down for 2 years. So go to the Naked Truth Report and subscribe, and you can see all my old archive shows. In fact, you can watch the show that I did with Miko Pelet. I did that Miko Pelet interview 8 years ago, but it's up on my YouTube channel. Go check it out there. I've asked Miko to come on the show, but he hasn't gotten back to me. I think maybe because I said I was a Trump supporter, and so he put me in this box that I'm now conservative or something like that. But you see how putting people in boxes is not a good thing. It's short-sighted, it's superficial and shallow. But you can see, maybe I was even thinking about playing the Miko Pelet interview here. It's an hour, and I would play maybe the first 30 minutes. Hey, call in and let me know if you'd like to hear it that way. I would play the first 30 minutes, one show, and then you guys could call in and comment on that. And then another day, I would play the latter 30 minutes or 25 minutes, and then you can call in and comment on that. Call in and let me know if you wanted me to do that. That's Miko Pelet. His name is spelled Mikopeled. Let's see, Colonel Douglas McGregor has him and John Mearsheimer. I think Colonel McGregor sat down with Tucker Carlson, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the last thing I read that he said was that, first of all, he says Ukraine is finished. And then he says Israel has lost the narrative, and that they're going to suffer gravely. They may collapse. You see, the war in the Middle East is expanding. You see what's happening there. I would love to get Miko on, but go to my. Why did they? Let's see. The reason why my YouTube channel was disabled for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and I saw I got an email notification that someone had subscribed to my channel, and so I said, that's curious. This was this week, and so I asked YouTube. I asked them, I appealed. I said, you guys, I just clicked on the button that says appeal, and I said, and they said, we made a mistake. So for a year and a half, they had my YouTube channel suspended, but then they deleted two of the they removed two of my interviews, and one was the one with what's his name, Michael Yon. Remember the war correspondent? I don't know why they deleted that one. They said I think it had to do with presenting information, medical misinformation, and then they deleted another one. I can't remember the title, but I want to mention, talking about medical misinformation, I want to mention this interview that I listened to this afternoon that Tucker Carlson had with, I'm bringing it up right now, with, where is it? Did I write his name? Brett Weinstein. Tucker Carlson interviewed Dr. Brett Weinstein. He says the World Health Organization preparedness plan, which the United States may enter into this agreement in May. And if the United States enters into this agreement, we will be abdicating, giving up all our sovereignty and individual personal responsibility. The World Health Organization will be able to declare something is a medical emergency. So you see, if we enter into this agreement, the World Health Organization can characterize anything a medical emergency. They can characterize climate change as a medical emergency. And they can dictate what the remedy is. And they can also censor, like they censored before, regarding COVID. You see it's happening right around. We're getting ready to get into election time. We are in the midst of election time. So the Iowa caucuses is going to be what is this month? January 15th. And Trump is he's polling at 66%, and Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis are polling at 11%, second place tied. We know that Trump is going to win the Iowa caucuses, and then January 23rd is the New Hampshire primary. This is an exciting time of year. We're nervous. Why are we nervous? Trump is going to win, but we know that shenanigans is going to take place, right? We know that fishy business, the Democrats will have a trick up their sleeve. And I watched a debate between folks on the left who believe that the January 6th scenario was an insurrection, and Daryl Beatty and Alex Jones and Glenn Greenwald on the right saying it is not an insurrection. So that's the President Biden is, you heard his speech this week, he is enveloping his entire campaign on the notion that January 6th was an insurrection, and all Trump supporters are domestic terrorists and insurrectionists. Well, this is just a narrative that the Democratic Party is pumping along. And who's helping them do it? The media. Okay? The media has helped them pump that it was an insurrection. And now that Speaker Johnson has released additional footage of January 6th, what do we see? We know now that there were hundreds of federal instigators, federal provocateurs, federal agents or actors, individuals who were working with the federal government or a third party to instigate, to be a provocateur. We see, but for this release of the additional footage, we wouldn't know what was going on. Although Dan Beatty, is his name Dan Beatty with Revolver News, he has been reporting on it extensively since day one, and also Julie Kelly. The entire January 6th committee was a farce. One of the things that should be done, and it should have been done immediately, Speaker Johnson should have characterized that as illegitimate, because Nancy Pelosi did not traditionally in the Congress, when there's a commission, the minority leader and the majority leader will have an opportunity to appoint the members of Congress to sit on the commission. So you're getting a balanced perspective. And Nancy Pelosi, as the Speaker of the House, she would not allow Kevin McCarthy to do that. So I think that now we have Speaker Johnson. Speaker Johnson should have immediately discredited the January 6th Commission. Why? Because look, you see what the Colorado Supreme Court has done. In fact, the Colorado trial court said that woman, our court systems have been weaponized and politicized. The woman in the trial court level at the Colorado court, in Colorado District Court, she held that Trump committed an insurrection or incited an insurrection. And the California Supreme Court used her ruling to support the fact that he could be taken off of the ballot, you see. Now, also Maine, the Secretary of State in Maine is also doing the same thing, and some other states are going to do the same thing. So the idea that now this is going, thank goodness the Supreme Court is going to be hearing this issue, whether or not Trump can be taken off of the ballot because he committed an insurrection. Well, what is an insurrection? We have to define it. You can't just say someone's opinion, oh, yeah, that was an insurrection. Well, given that debate that I looked at, I like the arguments that were being made because what is the meaning of an insurrection? How do you define an insurrection? The 14th Amendment does not define an insurrection. And Section 5 of the 14th Amendment says that only Congress can enact the insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment. Not Section 3, we're talking about Section 5. Section 5 allows Congress to enact all the provisions of the 14th Amendment. I see that's never discussed. But so the issue is, did Trump? No, he didn't commit an insurrection. That was not an insurrection. And that term, which means an uprising, was used to describe what was going on with the Civil War. Well, Biden actually compares what happened, and even Kamala Harris, they compare what happened on January 6th to the Civil War. They compare what happened on January 6th to Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Can you imagine an uprising? I don't think so. As Vivek Ramaswamy tweeted, he said, January 6th was Entrapment Day. Yes. And it's also Patriot Day. Yes. So we're glad that the truth is going to be, hey, this is the main thing. But for Elon Musk, we wouldn't be able to discuss or know any of this stuff. Because why? We would be censored. And in fact, the federal courts have held Biden liable or said it was unconstitutional for him to employ the DOJ and the FBI to censor information from the American people. That's a violation of the First Amendment. There's so much going on. There's so much to be discussed. But I think the main thing, what is the main thing that we're concerned about? What is the main, you're going to call in and tell me. I think let's get this thing resolved with Trump being on the ballot. We'll get that resolved. Let's get the Iowa caucuses resolved. But also we're concerned about the cheating that's going to take place, right? We know that some shenanigans is going to take place. Oh, I want to also mention is that one of the, an analyst, where is it? One of the analysts said, where were they? They predicted that between what is it called? I haven't even discussed illegal aliens yet. That was the main thing I wanted to discuss. But between J.P. Morgan strategist predicts that between Super Tuesday and November, Joe Biden will drop out. That's an analyst with J.P. Morgan. Oh, so I want to discuss the main thing also is the border. Yes. That's the main issue, and the economy. Dave Bratz, you can hear him on Banner's War Room. He says the economy for this year is bleak. We know because they know the data. Let's talk about the border. Let's talk about these illegal aliens. That should be the main thing, not January 6th, right? Because it wasn't an insurrection, and everything that these folks are telling us is a lie. Everything they have been gaslighting. I used that word before. They've been manipulating, and I can't believe anybody votes for a Democrat politician. Given all of the data, given all of the information for the last few decades, people are still voting for the Democratic Party. That lets you know that they're misinformed, that they're not really knowledgeable, that they know no history, they know nothing, and they call into Washington Journal and they talk about what they know, and they don't know anything. They have limited knowledge. In fact, the question that was asked on Washington Journal, I don't know if it was this morning or yesterday, was, what was the question? Is democracy an issue for you in the election? Let's play that audio of discussing democracy versus a constitutional republic.
Republic, not a democracy. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality. The ideal of a constitutional republic is individual liberty. A democracy always degenerates into dictatorship, which promises government-guaranteed equality and security, but it delivers nothing but poverty and serfdom for the people it robs and rules. America was founded as a constitutional republic to safeguard the liberties of the people against the tyranny of democracy or of one-man dictatorship. In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, the totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of our principles of government.
Oh, that was quick. So let's see. We're a constitutional republic. Let's stop using the word democracy because it's not accurate. Let's see. Also, this is what I realized. The problem with Democrat voters, Trump haters, is that they don't realize that the establishment isn't on their side, isn't on the side of the American people. That's the problem. They believe that the establishment, so the legacy media, including Washington Journal, is basically, and the New York Times and the Washington Post and ABC and NBC, they're basically the establishment news. And the establishment news is not on the side of the American people, and therefore you must listen to alternative media. That's the point. And Democrats, they're not knowledgeable enough to realize that's what's going on. Let's see. So, I want to mention that the Epic Times has a piece called a documentary called the January 6th, What's the Real Story, where provocateurs and instigators were there and they were responsible for what took place. That's the question, and it must be answered correctly. What was Ray Epps' role there? And you see, he was conveniently. He didn't get indicted. He got indicted, but I think it was just for a misdemeanor or something like that, and he was only sentenced to 6 months. So he was pivotal in what took place, and you see, it's suspicious. His role in the whole January 6th thing is suspect. Also, we now know that our courts have been politically weaponized, so them defining an insurrection with politicized and weaponized court systems is inadequate. We can't rely on our court system. You see what was taking place. This is the other thing I wanted to mention. Is you see now Letitia James has said that that has said that Trump has to pay, $370 million? This is so arbitrary when there was no victim in Trump's case. So this is, all of the cases against Trump are election interference. If you read letters to Trump, everyone loved Trump before he decided to run for president. When he decided to run for president, now he's enemy number one. Why? Because he hasn't been blackmailed. He can't be blackmailed. He can't be controlled. And so they don't, he's actually for the American people. And the puppet masters, the big donors, the central bank, they don't have the interest of the American people. Oh, you know what I want to play? Last week I had Ronald Stein talking about climate change, and he had an excerpt that I left out. Let's play that excerpt that Ronald Stein said at the end of my interview with him.
There's a lot of military generals report to him. The Army, the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, the space program. Not one general has asked Biden the question, how are we going to run our military without fuel and without the products that support the troops? And for the space program, all electronics that go into all that communication and telemetry. No one's asking Biden the question, how are we going to be able to continue living the lifestyle we have without fossil fuels, the crude oils, the crude oil that makes the different fuels, and all the products that we've become to accept as way of life.
So basically what he's saying, if you didn't understand, is how can we maintain our military and our space system if we don't have the necessary fossil fuels? So let's see. The Supreme Court, this is the case that is going to be interesting. United States versus Fisher, challenging the Department of Justice use of 18 USC Section 1512 in connection with the January 6 cases. Now, the Supreme Court has taken up this case. And in fact, this Fisher guy, he's a January 6 defendant, and he also has a documentary out called, let me see, and I think I have it on my website or on my webpage. His documentary is called, the one with the Epic Times is The Real Story About January 6, and Fisher's documentary, he's a January 6 defendant. His documentary is called January 6, A True Timeline. This is listen, we know that we've been lied to regarding everything, right? The people who are paying attention, this is why I cannot believe people who would even vote Democrat at this point. Because the establishment is not on the side of the American people. Because America first, MAGA, is the side of the populace, is the side of the American people. And the Democratic Party is on the side of the establishment. You see how they want to do everything that is against our interest. So how anyone can continue to support the Democratic Party lets you know that they're misinformed. They don't know what's going on. And you heard Biden's speech. He is engulfing his entire campaign around insurrection, around January 6th, you see. And we, Trump supporters, are all domestic terrorists. Is this something that is sustainable? He wants to have a civil war, I believe, and have us all. In other words, we have to go along with what they say or it's over. We have to just succumb to their will? I don't think so. This is the Naked Truth Report. I want to wish you a Happy New Year, and we'll be right back.
They rain and they snow on everyone. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds.
Oh, I love that song. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Happy New Year. This week, impeachment proceedings for Homeland Security Chief Mayorkas will start. Also, I want to mention, I didn't talk about the immigration numbers. They're staggering. More than 300,000 illegal aliens crossed the border, were apprehended for last month, December. Ben Barquam, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Ben Barquam, yeah, he interviewed an Iranian illegal alien, and he conceded that, let's see, what did he conceded that this is dangerous, that Biden doesn't have the interests of the American people. And he conceded that jihadists or Islamic extremists are intent on harming America. And also, if there's a war if China takes a position with Taiwan, Chinese nationalists who are now in the country will side with China over America. I saw a recent show on Pearl, not a documentary, but on, you guys know I watch Turner Classic Movies, and it was a movie about Pearl Harbor. We're in trouble, folks. Biden has us in a very precarious position. We should be concerned. So let me go over some of the numbers for the illegal aliens so you see what's going on here. America's illegal alien immigration crisis is shattering old records with alarming numbers. If Biden had maintained Trump's remain in Mexico policy, 70% of these illegal aliens would not have crossed the southern border. Congressman Andy Biggs says that 1.5 million illegal aliens have received their removal order, and Biden hasn't enforced it. This man, I can't see how anybody votes for Biden. But yet, you have people still calling into Washington Journal talking about how they support Biden. They're crazy, folks. They have no idea what's going on. In 2023, over 3.2 million illegal aliens crossed the border. In 2022, 2.766 million crossed the southern border. In 2021, listen, it's going to be, by the end of Biden's administration, there will be 11 million illegal aliens that have crossed under his administration. That's the size of Ohio, okay? Hello? And let me tell you something. These folks, when they cross the border, what do they get? They get a cell phone. They get a little money on their car, on their debit card, like $5,000. Yeah. They get, and they also, the Catholic Charities is working with them, and they have a place to go and a place to stay. Did you see the brawl that was taking place? They're already fighting in New York City, illegal aliens, and they're discontent with what they're receiving. They want more. They're dissatisfied. And Ben Barquam, when he interviewed that Iranian guy, illegal alien that got into the country. He was from Persia, from Iran, and he did admit he's no longer Muslim, because he asked his friend. This is an interesting interview. You got to see it. Maybe I'll put it up on my website. Ben asked him, "Are you a Muslim?" He said, "No, I'm not a Muslim." He said, because I asked one of my friends if the Quran, if Muhammad said you have to detonate a bomb, would you do it? He said, "Yeah. That's what the Prophet Muhammad, if the Prophet Muhammad asked me to do that," this was a Persian man who was a Muslim. So this is like firsthand knowledge. If Prophet Muhammad said a bomb must be detonated, I would do it. And this was a doctor. Hello. So the guy is no longer a Muslim. We're in trouble, folks. We don't know. People are coming in from the entire planet is entering the United States. And they're having a brawl. They're fighting amongst themselves over benefits or whatever. You see, life is competitive. People have been competitive since human civilization. And you have people coming in from all over the world with different cultures, speaking different languages. You don't know what you're thinking. You don't know where they came from. You see diseases. Are they healthy or not? You don't know what they're thinking. Did they come out of a mental institution or a prison? Trump is right when he talked about this years ago, right? When he first got elected. He was right when he talked about it. So anyway, let's take a call now. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hi, Kathleen. As for that man you were talking about playing him for half an hour, don't do it. It's a waste of airtime, and you've got more important stuff to talk about, like I've been hearing.
Oh, Miko Pele, you don't want me to play? Well, if you want to hear Miko Pele, the interview, now my YouTube channel is activated. So you can go to my YouTube channel and look up my interview and you can hear it for yourself. Miko Pele, Mikopeled. You can hear that interview on my YouTube channel, and then you can call in and tell me what you think about it, okay?
Well, another thing, you say no sovereignty being part of the UN. Glenn Beck said something almost similar, but it wasn't exactly like that. Different words, not really meaning it at all. But he said there'll be no First Amendment and have to answer to the UN, and they're going to call it the Covenant to make it, to make it sound like a good word to make people go along with it.
Well, I want to recommend that people see the Tucker Carlson interview with Brett Weinstein, and it's he talks about the World Health Organization, not the UN, the World Health
Organization. You said the World Health Organization.
Yeah, WHO preparedness plan, which will enable the WHO to declare a medical emergency and usher in any remedy and censor us. Now, this will be... Biden will sign this treaty in May. We will lose our sovereignty. We will be under the auspices of the World Health Organization. Can you imagine?
It's unbelievable.
Right. Well, it's an interesting interview. You got to check it out. Tucker Carlson and Brett Weinstein. He talks about the fact that the puppet masters. Oh, and I also saw a thing that said that Epstein was involved with how do I want to put it? The creation or manufacture or the development of COVID-19. He was working with a scientist. I can't remember his name right now, but he was working with a scientist who developed the COVID-19, who was also he was part of Metabiota that was in that biolab that was in Ukraine, that Hunter Let's see. You see, it's like the entire thing is a game. And Brett Weinstein said in his interview with Tucker, he said that the people in charge, the puppet masters, the big donors, the folks up at the top, the folks in charge feel like you cannot have people governing themselves. They have to be subjugated to an apparatus
that they want to control us.
For control and power, exactly. And that Epstein was a part of it.
And also, since you mentioned illegal aliens, now Newsom signed a law to give all illegal aliens free health care.
Right.
In California here.
Right.
Sucking up all the Medi-Cal.
Right. We see what's happening, folks, right? Are we paying attention? I think my listeners are, and I think other American citizens are. People are angry. So we're gonna see what happens with the Iowa caucuses. Nikki Haley is part of the grand scheme of the globalists. She's a warmonger. She's an establishment uniparty rhino. She's like Hillary Clinton 2.0 or Kamala Harris 2.0. She's a warmonger. We don't want these forever wars. We don't want the establishment anymore. No.
No.
Okay, Antoinette. Let me take Antoinette now. Hi, Antoinette.
Hi, Kathleen. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
It's kind of a scary period we're in, and we need to say our prayers to our Lord Jesus Christ. I don't need to go in that direction, but we're in dangerous times. Number one, Mayorkas, he needs to be charged for treason. Forget this easygoing impeachment nonsense. No, we need to be really tough. We need to be really strong, because 9/11, when it happened to us here in the U.S., was nothing to compare to what's going to happen to us now. That's how dangerous it is. I'm immigrants, and I'm Latina. I'm Mexican and Spanish. My other friends that are Middle Eastern as well as Asian, they're sick of this, as I am. Do you know how difficult, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners as well as you, becoming an American citizen, all the things you have to do to become a legal American citizen. How dare this administration, if you're a Democrat, you guys hate our country. Biden administration, this administration, it's not 8 million. How about more like 20, 25 million are in our country illegally? I have been working with a group ages ago in the mid-90s concerning voting. And it was called Voting for Participation. And I walked around in the different neighborhoods in Santa Ana. Being Latina, I can speak Spanish. And a lot of people, granted, they didn't speak English, but I said, you have to be an American citizen. You need to vote. And I'm just flabbergasted with this administration. I'm very angry about it, but I pray to God that everybody starts waking up. I wish more people would listen to your program as well as other conservatives on this radio station, because that's where we're headed.
Okay,
And
thank
I'm
you,
sorry
Antoinette. You go on and on. Okay, let me talk to Rick now. Hi, Rick. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hey, Miss Kathleen, how you doing today?
Yeah. Hi.
Yes, I want to talk about, January 6th was yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I was calling, but January 6th was yesterday, right?
Uh-huh.
And the thing about this, with all the videos out, they didn't talk about it too much.
Uh-huh.
And my thing is, I thank God those tapes got out, got out before, before the people can see how the Capitol Police was just as corrupt, letting them people come in there and setting them all up.
Uh-huh.
I knew January 6th was a setup.
Yeah, it was a setup. There were provocateurs. More than hundreds of FBI instigators, provocateur agents were there, assets or whatever, were in the crowd. Yeah, it was not a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm with you. You know how you say is if people still vote for Biden. You got black folks that still talk about voting for Biden.
Right.
And in my opinion, they use blacks for destruction of the election because they use blacks to tip those those states to the Democrats. Like for instance, like Wisconsin. They
battleground states. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're the useful idiots. We've been useful idiots for the Democratic Party for 6 decades. No doubt about it. Okay, let's take a call from Eric now. Hi, Eric. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hello. Yes, I first want to second what Antoinette said. We definitely need to get back to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We're a nation under discipline because we're a nation in reversionism right now. I am very happy that the discussion earlier centered around republics and democracies. And what I would like to add to that subject, that topic here, is that all one has to do is look at what our adversaries refer to themselves as. Well, for example, there's the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's democratic. Mm-hmm. Lord of the Flies was democracy, mob rule in action, if you know that story. Mm-hmm. And then the party itself, the Communist Party itself, they referred to their control as democratic centralism. Look at the terms. Look at what words really mean. And you can see why our founding fathers regarded democracy as one of the worst forms of government, tyrannical, and it leads to oligarchy. We are a constitutional republic, and we need to start teaching our kids that again.
Right, and you see that the Democrats you see the media is an arm of the establishment and the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is the establishment. They want to spin us into oblivion. Their answer to every problem is spending money. And so they don't have, I can't believe anybody continues to vote for the Democratic Party. So Washington Journal asked the question this week, is that an issue in the election? They keep using that word. They just embrace everything that the Democratic Party pumps, the media, the New York Times, the Washington Post.
Yeah, I agree. Donald Trump actually used the word democracy the other day. And at first I said, oh, come on, you know better than that. And then I realized why he's doing it. He's throwing it back at him. He's basically saying, oh, you guys are so worried we're going to end democracy. Well, no, you're the guys that, but of course, democracy, whether you're referring to our right to vote or whether you're referring to the mob rule, that our founders and framers knew that it was. The Greeks found out the hard way what democracy was all about, and the Romans learned from that and did better. They weren't perfect, but they did better.
Yes, and the founding fathers studied that and were aware of it, and that's why we are a constitutional republic. I want to encourage, and I want to mention that, and then you see that they're using this term insurrection to say that Trump shouldn't be on the ballot. I mean, the idea that we would actually fall for this, it's like everything their way. They've weaponized our courts. I cannot wait. Let's hope that the decision in the Supreme Court is 9-0 to keep Trump on the ballot.
The George Floyd riots was an insurrection.
Say that again. Well, what is an insurrection? It's an uprising, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You see, Eugene Debs campaigned on overthrowing the government, and yet he remained on the ballot. And actually, he received 3 million votes while he was in prison. So he campaigned on overthrowing the government. It's a subjective determination. There's not an uprising. I mean, an insurrection means an uprising. We don't have a definitive definition, but we know that the 14th Amendment is one of those Civil War amendments. So would you compare what happened on January 6th to the Civil War? Are they analogous?
No, because it wasn't even a civil war to begin with. It was the correct name is the war between the states. A civil war is over territory, and our conflict back then was not about
well, everybody
that.
calls it the Civil War. Everybody calls it the Civil War, okay?
Of course, yep.
I mean,
we know.
So that's our common usage for that. It's a war between the states. It's a civil war, an internal conflict. And there was conflict over territory, because the South wanted to succeed.
Right, with the British involvement. That was a British thing largely. But I agree with you. Uprising is not what we want. What we need in America is what we would call a counter-revolution to roll back the revolution that's occurring, which we don't want. You know, a counter-revolution is what our war for independence was all about.
Okay, let's take Carlos now. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Well, Happy New Year,
Kathleen.
Yes, Kathleen, listen, we're going to have a real bumpy year, really bumpy.
Yeah.
Look, I think we're going to have a civil war and perhaps an enhancement of the war in the Middle East, perhaps even getting into a nuclear exchange situation.
Yeah.
Look, Hollywood has a proclivity to send subliminal messages about what's going to be happening politically. You see, the movie Civil War is coming out in March.
What is it? What's the name of the movie?
Civil War.
Oh, and let me tell you, the Taliban went to ask North Korea for nuclear weapons.
Right. And also, remember, last year, the movie Oppenheimer came out about building a nuclear weapon, and what did we have? The uprising in the Middle East, okay? So Hollywood sends us all these... Remember, prior to 9/11, a few months before, there was the movie Pearl Harbor about an attack on our nation.
And there was a movie about
know what's coming up.
And there was a movie about a biological bioweapon from a wet market in China. Remember that? There's my music. Hey, Carlos, call next week. So next week we're going to discuss the Iowa caucuses, okay? I'll see you next week. Happy New Year. Have a wonderful time. I hope everything is cool and kosher and all that good stuff. Okay, bye.
I've looked at clouds.
Numbers USA is the largest grassroots advocacy organization in the United States, with over 8 million members and supporters. Numbers USA's sole focus is immigration, and it believes better immigration policy is both needed and possible. Founded solely by author Roy Beck in 1996 to champion the recommendations of the National Commission on Immigration, chaired by civil rights icon Barbara Jordan. In his latest book, Back of the Hiring Line, Roy Beck clearly shows how high immigration has, in wave after wave, adversely and disproportionately impacted Black American jobs and wealth. Today, America is faced with an unprecedented influx of illegal immigrants flooding into our country by the millions. This influx disproportionately impacts Black Americans, as well as first-generation Latino Americans and legal immigrants lawfully pursuing naturalization. Numbers USA continues to advocate for sensible immigration policies that ensures American safety, promotes economic fairness while protecting the environment and quality of life. To get a copy of Roy's book, Back of the Hiring Line, visit backofthehiringline.com or on Amazon and learn more about Numbers USA. Take action and get involved now by logging on to numbersusa.com. That's numbersusa.com.